Okay. We have a book review. This one is for Cyberpunk No Coincidence. We spoke about this quite a while ago. It's obviously a cyberpunk novel set in the same universe as the video game 2077 and the abysmally bland anime Edge Runners. And I'll go ahead and say it right now that this is a much better read and story than Edge Runners. It's nowhere near as predictable, and everything that sucked about Edge Runners, this book gets right. So just keep that in mind. Um, I can't say the author's name, so bad luck. I'm not going to try. And what I will say is this book was originally written in Polish. Because of that, it was translated into English, and therefore I'm not going to comment on any sort of minor uh, incorrect bits to do with law and spelling of words, etc., that appear in the book. I'm assuming that's just due to translation, so I will just ignore that. And I will say that the translation is overall very good and didn't cause me any issues. With that being said, this is Cyberpunk No Coincidence. The basic premise of this book is that they're a very ragtag group of people in Night City. Night City is a horrible city, and you know it's essentially a mirror of the world today. Everything sucks, and with that being said, these people, all with their own reasons and sort of emotional baggage, etc., find themselves being blackmailed by the same fixer. A fixer is someone who organizes jobs for people for money that are less than legal, usually, or need to be off the record. And so these people who have no qualifications and shouldn't have been able to pull off this job somehow managed to pull the job off. And because of that, this underprepared ragtag group who don't really know each other that well and were all pulled off the street and blackmailed into doing this job are now dealing with the ramifications of having a target on their head, so to speak, because they pulled off this crazy heist and people, want in on the rewards for that, which they didn't get because, it's cyberpunk. And so what this book is you're following this journey. It's a very character-driven book. There are a bunch of main characters, and each one of them is very unique and has their own motivations and reasons for doing what they're doing. From the spoiled rich corpo girl who's just trying to get a kick, to the Ripper Doc that is heavily in debt to some of the gangs and needs the extra money to save his own life, to the kid who has his own motives, the Netrunner, who my least favorite character in the story, and you'll understand if and when you read it, who's living with his mum and thinks he's going to be the next big hacker. And then you've got the guy with the mysterious past and the stripper as well. So all these sort of characters that don't really mesh with each other but are forced into this situation. It's a very ragtag in that respect. And with that character-driven story comes one of the most unique ways I've seen a story written in a very long time, and that is something that I've seen a lot of people having problems with online. If you look at reviews on Goodreads, etc., people found this book very confusing. And the reason for that is because the author decided that every single paragraph, and really think about that, not chapter, every paragraph switches point of view to a different character. And that character might not even be in the same room as the previous paragraph. So what's happening is you're getting all these little snapshots of all these different characters doing all these different things all at the same time, overlapping each other, and all with a similar goal. And it creates this very immersive confusion because this is very much a mystery book where you are trying to, essentially you're trying to figure out these characters and how they got in this situation and how they're going to get out of this situation. And the more you switch through all these paragraphs and get these little puzzle pieces of each character, the more you can put that story together, and it creates this confusion that is very immersive and works very well for the tone of the book and the overall structure of the story. So if you're one of those people who read one, two, three, four paragraphs and just said, nope, too confusing, too complicated, I'm putting it down, well, one, you have my condolences. And two, I would say give it a go and just understand, put it in your head mentally that every time there's a break in the sentence structure, pause and accept the fact that it's a new character. Treat it like very, very short chapters, maybe, and that might help you get through the book. Because if you do get through the book, you'll be rewarded in the most cyberpunk way possible. It's a very, very fun book, trying to solve these riddles and these characters and getting to know all these characters and sort of knowing and figuring out how it's all going to end, and the bigger sort of events that are playing into this. As the title of the book sort of states, there are no coincidences. With that being said, there wasn't really much I didn't like, other than the hacker kid that lives with his mum. I just hated that character, but I don't know if that was intentional or not, but, I'm chalking it up to like a King Joffrey type thing where you're kind of supposed to hate this little spoiled kid who doesn't, see what's going on around him and is very selfish and puts everyone else in danger all the time. That kid is really, really annoying. But most of the characters are a great read. There are a few little issues with the translation, like they don't call Eddies Eddies, they call them Ennies. But once again, it was written in Polish and switched to English, so I don't really care. There was nothing really that stopped me from enjoying this book. It was a very quick, simple, and for me, an easy read. What I would say is, in terms of like a target audience, this book isn't for beginners of the genre. If you don't know the cyberpunk genre, or maybe you've only played the game or only seen Edge Runners, in which case you also have my condolences. But if that's where you're at with cyberpunk, I would suggest maybe, reading a few more cyberpunk novels or watching a few more cyberpunk movies to start to get the central themes and an understanding of all the twists and turns that cyberpunk stories represent, because they are very complicated worlds with a lot of horrible stuff going on all at once, a lot of twists and turns, and there are things that are possible in these worlds that you won't sort of see coming and expect, and that you may find this book to be very confusing with that regard. However, if you are more seasoned with cyberpunk stuff, maybe you've read the novels, seen the movies, played the games, etc., etc., and you're like me, in which case it's going to be a very easy read. So I would keep that in mind. With regards to that, though, if this story does seem very interesting to you, maybe you did give it a go but found the shifting perspectives too confusing, or it was just a little too complicated in terms of its mystery, and you had trouble reading it and put it down. A good alternative to this would be the Golem trilogy by Mel Odom. It's set in the Fantasy Flight universe, which is called the World of Android. And that universe is essentially a mirror of Cyberpunk 2077 and 2020's universe, because it was built off of the Netrunner card game, which was originally a Cyberpunk card game. So there are a lot of overlapping things there. However, the Fantasy Flight Android universe is a lot easier to understand. It's not as complicated, and the Golem trilogy by Mel Odom is a much simpler read, while still having the same central themes and twists in it that No Coincidence present as well. So I would say maybe give that a read first, and if you really enjoyed that trilogy, then go back and try No Coincidence again. Because that'll sort of create that stepping stone for you if you did have troubles with it. But overall, for a licensed book of a video game, it is actually quite enjoyable to read. And when I say enjoyable to read, it's a cyberpunk book, so it's enjoyable in the sense that it's a good book, but it's not enjoyable in the sense that you are supposed to get depressed while reading this because everything sucks, just like everything actually sucks. Overall, I do recommend. It is a great book. Just know what you're getting into, and take my advice if you had trouble. Yeah. Other than that, that's the end of the video. But if you did make it this far through to the video, I just want to say thank you to Ian. You know why. And that's it. Go out and read books and do stuff. Live life.